Harassment methods. Overview of harassment methods used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio. Covert community recruits and stay-behind armies, or instruction manual for community gang stalkers. From Chapter 18, Instruction Manual with Harassment Methods for Community Gang Stalkers. Undercover community-based agents. Gang stalking is a covert counterintelligence operation for assassination, assisted suicide, to deprive and isolate the victim for climate control, to stage a synthetic psychological collapse for trafficking and exploitation, to stage a synthetic suicide programming for eugenics. By the way, no trafficker is attractive in any way, shape, or form. All of the women that belong to this rape culture that sexually exploit for a profit in an attempt to have their victim commit suicide so it can stage a synthetic psychological collapse, so it can stage a synthetic suicide or assisted suicide programming for eugenics. Every single honeypot involved in this is so corrupt. And I'm sorry to say it, you cannot be attractive with a sold out for anal ideal image. It is not even cute anymore. It is so basic. It is so boring. There is a reason why your victim is the more attractive one. There's a reason why you're jealous of me. There's a reason why you try to pick me apart and exploit me for all of my tiny little flaws. There is a reason why I'm the more attractive, better looking one. And it's because there is no trafficker. No female or male trafficker working to exploit these targeted individuals in an attempt so that they can stage these synthetic suicide programmings or these assisted suicide programmings. When you come out here on a full moon with your yoga pants on, you're a hoovering narcissist. The only message you're relaying is that you're a hoovering narcissist, a psychosadist. Sexually deranged is the word. Okay? You're not hot. You're not thick. You're not sexy. You're sold out for anal. You have the look that is that of a rape cult shill who fucks its own father so it can have a free condo, so it can get free car keys. Okay, that's the type of image that you have. And so it's not sexy, it's not cute, it's not beautiful, it's not pretty. There's a reason why I'm the more attractive one. It doesn't get more poetic than that. You can't make this up. Not only am I smarter than you, I'm better looking than you, all combined. So, in any case, gang stalking is a covert counterintelligence operation to deprive and isolate the victim for climate control, to stage a synthetic psychological collapse for trafficking. And the interesting thing about all of this handbook, this manual, is that every single thing in it is completely illegal from top to bottom. And the reason why these rape cult shills and these traffickers and these undercover agents prefer to keep it a secret, the reason why they work so hard to keep these programs a secret is because everything in the book is illegal. Everything in this manual from top to bottom, from head to toe, is illegal. Stalking is a crime. Exploitation is a crime. Assisted suicide is a crime. Homicide is a crime. Like I said, bribery and blackmail is a crime. Those are illegal. Okay, so Hobby Lobby needs to sit down with that sold out for image. Ain't nobody jealous. You're not better looking, in my opinion, than I am. That's why you're jealous. That's why you're insecure. That's why you're gang stalking, because you're not better looking than me. You have a cult-like following, and you yourself are not happy with your own life, with your own body. Don't ever let the enemy sit up here and make you so despair so much that you forget the reason why it gang stalks is because it's insecure. The reason why it is out here doing all that it is doing is because it is insecure. It's not because it's better looking than me. It's not because it's smarter than me. It's not because it has more money than I do. Absolutely not. It's a criminal. It's a career criminal cop. And so is its family. And the reason why it has to go about doing these is to continue to conceal its crimes against humanity. And that's because it's insecure. All right, to deprive and isolate the victim for climate control, to stage a synthetic psychological collapse for trafficking and ultimately for exploitation. You know, those quotas, they have to be met. So all of these hospitals have to be full. All of these homeless shelters have to be full. All of the prisons and the jail systems have to be full. To stage a synthetic suicide programming for eugenics. The saddest thing of all is that everybody in the family is involved in this, including the boyfriend, including the mother. To deprive the victim of any peace and justice for social injustice. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning or good afternoon to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. I have the facts and the evidence right here in these shows that I do for YouTube. You can go ahead and report it as spam or whatever else that you want, but I'm going to get these shows done regardless. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a non-profit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. So the idea here is to rack up a bunch of fraudulent charges via exploitation, and more specifically via sexual exploitation, because they're guilty for crimes against humanity and specifically murder. So the idea here is to try to go back and tie up some loose ends, quote unquote loose ends. I'm literally quoting the enemy now. This is what they're saying and bragging about doing. And then because it murdered Jerron's baby cousin in order to mock me. And that's how these rich people in Hollywood and in these governments and in these programs, that's how they get down. And so that they got it like that. So you have a military militia full of grown-ass men who are inadequate assassins, green berets, black berets, red berets, gray berets. And it's all mad because it can't get away with rape. It's all mad because it can't. Because by the way, this is the male militia. This is its politics. Rape is the male militia's politics. That's politics. Murdering of women, of course. Beating and murdering of women, of its victims, of course. That's how it gets down. So that's the male militia's politics. Those are the male militia's policies. That's how it wants the world to be. That's why the world is the way that it is, because it can't get away with rape and murder, and it can't get away with brainwashing everybody to kill each other. So essentially, these honeypots are married to somebody who's mad that I exist. There's an entire military militia, a criminal syndicate that's mad because I exist. I'm alive. It was given orders to take me out. That's what social engineering is. Social engineering is a crime against humanity. It was given orders to socially engineer me to death, which is what it's attempting to do. And then at the tail end of the programming, the social engineering programming, the prototype is murdered. So any day now, really, essentially, it's just waiting. So it's trying every single thing that it can, every tool and weapon in the box, literally, so it can stage a fake homelessness crisis. That homelessness crisis will be the catalyst to the staged psychological collapse and the staged synthetic suicide programming. So this is the tail end. The only part of the social engineering programming that's left is the staged suicide programming, the very end of it. It's a 4-part sequence to start a relationship with you somehow in order to start a file on you so it can figure out how it can get its foot in the door. And then it replicates every single person that you're affiliated with. It replicates your boss. It replicates dead relatives. It puts a replica, an undercover agent, posing as your boss, your doctor, or just whatever, the police, your neighbor, your father. And then it recruits every single person in the family for assassination for this goal, with this purpose in mind. So all of the domestic violence is incited from the outside in. And these criminals never go to jail. They never go to prison. So what ends up happening is somebody like myself has to fucking kill them. Literally has to kill them. So this is against my will. Again, I'm only saying this because this is against my will. This is a staged programming, completely against my will. I don't want to have to break the law and kill anybody. I'm not jealous of anybody. I don't have any rage in my heart. My heart isn't full of hate. The way that these gang stalkers have so much guilt in their mind, and it's going to eat them alive, quite literally, behind their stupid little desk jobs that they hate anyways, that they're ungrateful for because their parents literally just gave them. So in any case, they work for nothing. It's all full of hate. All it does is sexually exploit. This sexual exploitation is a form of social engineering. So it's essentially trying to mock me and sexually exploit me to death until I commit suicide. That's the whole point of the sexual exploitation. The sexual exploitation that it is doing every single day, day after day, it's not a complementing sexual exploitation, a form of sexual exploitation. All of the therapists that are involved, they will deny this and they will say, oh, it's just a little bit of teasing. No, it's not. It's enough to drive a person insane. And they have to be brainwashed. You have to know that it's the fear that keeps them continuing to do this. So I don't see like thugged up mobsters. When I see these gang stalking shills, I see scared little boys and little girls deep down psychologically being controlled by their fear, being completely controlled using fear. It's a conspiracy, but it ain't no theory. Is a nonprofit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk, lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free information and evidence regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized hate crimes against humanity, collective and covert. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information and evidence to the general public and advocating for foster children in need. So the idea is to take a foster child. In this case, I was a foster child. And because nobody wants me, nobody wanted me because I was abandoned, it's playing on all of that. Fear of rejection, it simulates that. It's forcing me to have these flashbacks where it's forcing me to feel like I'm being rejected by God. Now, this takes dozens of undercover community recruits. In order to simulate the feeling of being rejected by God, this takes dozens of bots, dozens of slaves. In order to pull this off, in order to stage this effectively and to pull this off, this takes thousands of community-based agents, which, by the way, they're just people. If I got a gun and shot it, it would die. It's not special. It's not immortal. It doesn't have superhuman powers. It's not Neo. It isn't going to dodge magically the bullet, okay? And so, because it knows this, it has to have the full support of the local law enforcement. So the police and all of the governments are absolutely tapped into this, 110%. So, like I was saying, because I was a foster child, it thinks that it can use my past in order to alienate me currently and then going forward in the future. And all of this stuff about aliens and UFOs, it's all sex trafficking, a rape cult, and a death cult. So what it means to be alien is exactly the opposite of what it means to be alive. So that means to be dead. So when they say we're going to Mars, no, they're not. They're just out here killing people. More specifically, they're out here forcing people to kill themselves by isolating and depriving them. And so one of the reasons why I feel so compelled to come back here and to continue doing this program is because the judges will use a foster child's past of being alienated from their parents as an excuse, a legitimate reason to alienate them as adults from their family and specifically from their children. So, for no reason other than that, that'll be the reason why my kids will be taken away. Because I was alienated from my parents as a child and put into CPS. And then my past is used to do the same exact thing, only this time alienating me from my children. My children, the one I gave birth to, not yours. Okay, that's where the government has overstepped its boundaries, big time. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing gang stalking, occult ritual stalking, hypersimulation theory, covert psychological operations, plus surviving the New World Order, surviving the New World Disorder per usual, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, and surviving the electronic targeting holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese. I'm the author and creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. And probably like the world's most underrated self-help book right here, Lucy's Lair. It will change your life if you've been struggling. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. The reason why I know this book is capable of changing people's lives is because it wasn't until after I wrote this book that it changed my mom's life. It changed my sister's life. It changed so many people in my own personal family's life. It's ridiculous, and their life will never be the same. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. It is really, really, really sad how vastly different a targeted individual's life would be or should be if it were not for these assisted suicide programs, if it were not for the FBI, if it were not for the local law enforcement who are corrupt, if it were not for gang-stalking, rape cult, trafficking shills. The lives of these targeted individuals, they should be sitting above the gang stalkers with the financial resources to protect them from this hate crime that is currently happening. And instead, they're at the mercy of their hateful, what would be colleagues, but they were oppressed out of that opportunity. What would be co-workers, but they were oppressed. A targeted individual, a true one like myself, would be oppressed out of that opportunity. What would be, neighbors or family, but oppressed out of those opportunities as well. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system, orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individuals or trafficked victims are predominantly women. I don't know a lot of men who get on porn sites to watch other men. So again, I'm going to go ahead and say targeted individuals or trafficked victims are predominantly women. Also, too, it's a systemic issue to call every woman with a conscience crazy. Just because she has a conscience does not mean she's crazy. Crazy is somebody whose heart is so full of hate that another person's existence bothers them to the point of reacting in a violent and hateful way. Like, an example, gang-stalking. All right, and so I'm sure that every single gang-stalker has to be brainwashed in order to participate. They're actually recruited by force of will. They don't have a choice. They're slaves. And I can't even imagine a more pathetic existence. Like, I would rather die than have this thing use me for its own agenda, satanic agenda. And I'm gonna die. So, but the only difference is I dedicated my life to truth. Whereas the entire rest of the world is dedicating their life to a lie, to a cover story, to whatever bandwagon they decided to jump on that was coming in through the town that day. Whereas I'm not jumping on no bandwagons here, and I don't conform. And you'll see a lot of these rape cult shills, these traffickers, these gang stalkers. You'll see a lot of them try to come up in my comment section to discredit what it is that I'm experiencing. And that's because while it doesn't have a conscience and it does not process the feeling of guilt, that's why it's able to perpetually commit crimes, petty crimes, hate crimes. It doesn't feel guilt because it doesn't have a conscience. It'll try to act like it's a TI, and this is all, its handler is telling it what to say. When it comes up into my comment section, usually it talks in a schizophrenic word salad. It has to stick to the script that it's given. It can't speak for itself, like ever. And if you see any men claiming to be targeted individuals, this is obviously a scam. That's spam. It needs to be reported as spam. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. So we're quite literally talking about women who fit my profile, my identity, to the T. So if it's any other person, they're lying. That's all I have to say. Or they belong to that 30 percentile. And of course, if it has a conscience as guilty as this entire manual that I'm getting ready to go through, it's going to take me more than one show. You have to understand, it's going to have to put some crazy people out there to cover up the experimentation and the program, the illegal experimentation and the illegal programming in order to discredit. Of course, they're trying to get people to commit suicide. It's all a part of eugenics. So in any case, if you log on to OnlyFans, you're going to see the 65 to 70% of TIs that are white American women or those who identify as such. If you log on to Pornhub, chances are you're going to see the 65 to 70% of TIs that are white American women or those who identify as such. Black people and others, Asians and others, they will always be a minority. So they're in the 10 to 20 percentile. This makes gang-stalking an illegal operation or a hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. Praise the Lord for advocates like myself. Praise the Lord for voices like myself. Praise the Lord for rebels like myself, because it's only people like me who are doing the Lord's work. Everybody else is going to hell. The objective, and I quite literally had a dream that God told me, every single person doing the devil's deeds is going straight to hell. I am the only one going to heaven. I had a dream that he wanted me to tell every single person that thinks they're better, every single person involved in this program pushing this agenda, this evil alien agenda, participating in these occult rituals, you will not make it into the kingdom of heaven. You're going straight to hell. You may not go to jail. You may not go to prison, but you will not be going to heaven. The objective of the opposition or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potential, to terminate and to punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. Project Monarch programming refers to a conspiracy theory claiming that the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, developed a covert trauma-based mind control program. The conspiracy alleges that this program was an offshoot of the real and now widely known CIA project called MKUltra, which sought to develop techniques for interrogation and mind control. One of the things that I wanted to stop and mention, though, is what is so important about mind control. I'm going to tell you what is so important about mind control. It wants to mind control each and every single person's death. So it wants to be able to use this dream manipulation technology so it can get you to sleepwalk and then walk right out of a top story window while you're dreaming. How do I know this? Because it's done this to me so many times. So the reason why MK Ultra and mind control is so important is because it needs to be able to learn how to mind control a synthetic suicide. And it's got this down to what it would call a science. I disagree there. Allegations of monarch programming. Advocates of the monarch conspiracy theory claim that it used systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects, forcing their minds to disassociate. And when they force their minds to disassociate, they force the psyche to collapse. They force domestic violence, okay? All of the other things, all of the other criminality that comes with crazy shit. I can't even imagine if somebody is a pedophile and they're forcing their mind to disassociate, then they probably go off and find some little girl to molest or rape. And this is actually being incited. This is war. Again, the male militia, his policy, his political policies, is that it wants to stick its dick in everything and sexually exploit everyone to death. It wants to make you so angry that you fight each other until you kill each other. That's the male militia's politics. Don't go to the military. You will be raped in there. So, in any case, the military is just a spinoff of rape culture. So, forcing their minds to disassociate. So, this is happening all day, every day. And create alter egos or manipulate multiple personalities. This is why men are no longer faithful to their wives. These personas could then be, quote, programmed. According to the theory, these alters could then be programmed using symbols and specific triggers to carry out a range of clandestine operations, such as assassination, sex slavery, and intelligence gathering. Well, you already know that given my past, nobody has ever wanted me. So why would they be using me for sex slavery? Other than for the obvious public humiliation and shame, right? The sex slavery and the sexual exploitation is not what you think. It's not like, oh my God, I'm getting ready to go to an orgy and I've never felt more confident in my life. Like the sheriff's wife, like the rape cult shills in their yoga pants. Their version of confidence is getting ready to go to an orgy. And I'm sorry to say it, but at the same time, doing the Lord's work here, there's nothing more insecure than getting ready to go to an orgy. Because you're sold out for anal, and that is your ideal image. And it says a lot about a woman who comes out here to flash her ass. It says that she's insecure. It says a lot about a honeypot who's married or already in her own relationship that's doing a favor for some corrupt general somewhere and crap stirring. Coming out here to try to give a married man, my husband, a boner because they think it's funny and they're bored at work and they're obviously insecure. It hates its life. It does all of this. So to say, it hates itself. So anyways, I try really hard. So in any case, like I was saying, I try really hard not to get upset because I know that it's forcing my mind to disassociate. Appendix 1, keywords and phrases taken directly from this manual. Appendix 2, key terms from Rich's, quote, New World War, revolutionary methods for political control. Side note that the terms, definitions, military documents, laws, and patents provided by Rich prove the existence of the operations described in Kilde's, quote, manual. Appendix 3, European Parliament Resolution on Operation Gladio. Appendix 4, from Total Individual Control, Technology by Omniscience. So I've already gone over general. Agents must take great care that each and every act of punishment is deniable. So when I told the police that my cell phone was hacked and that I'm being tracked by the hackers, the police asked me or told me to go to the FBI. So I think that's where I'm going to be headed. I'm going to have to sit down with the FBI myself and report to the FBI how my cell phone is hacked and being tracked by these hackers, even though it's the FBI that's doing it. So, number 2, part 2 of the chapter 18 is going to be the surveillance. Surveillance is the foundation of all operations, both community-based agent, CBA, visual surveillance, and advanced electronic surveillance are used. This chapter will cover only local agent visual surveillance. Your local lead agent will schedule surveillance watches for each target in that community. So basically, communities, parking lots, and offices, doctors' offices, dentists, police offices, everywhere that you go, field operations people are implanted to corrupt up the information, to corrupt up the environment before you even get there. Before I even get there, everywhere I go, this is systemically done to facilitate impoverishment, to force the will of the victim to have to live homeless, to be homeless, and then ideally that homelessness crisis will usher in or be the catalyst for a synthetic suicide programming. So ideally, that homelessness crisis will usher in and be the catalyst for the staged synthetic suicide programming. Your local lead agent will schedule surveillance watches for each target in that community. Every target will have at least one CBA watching them at all times, even while at home and asleep. Each CBA surveillance team will be given a cell phone number for reporting target actions and movement to the local control center. And every single person involved in these programs will deny it. They will all be instructed to call the victim crazy. Actions to be reported include, but are not limited to, and I just wanted to say, these targets, like myself, are not crazy. You are not crazy. I am not crazy. I am not bipolar. The crazy psycho-sadists are the ones doing this gang-stalking, sexually exploiting me for a profit and doing so in an attempt that I'll give up on life and take my own life in order to have the sexual exploitation stop, the torment, in order to make it stop. So in any case, actions to be reported include but are not limited to. This is an entire conspiracy. This is the secret of all secrets. You have no need to turn the radio on. You have no need to turn the news on. This is what is going on. Everything in Hollywood is a cover story for this. Everything in this hypersimulation is a distraction from this. So this is the secret of all secrets, and I get to be the one blowing the whistle, doing the Lord's work here. Actions to be reported include, but are not limited to: target turns lights on to start the day, target uses toilet or shower, target exits residence, target drives away, target arrives at work, or target shops or visits any other establishment or location. Target arrives home, target eats meal at home or in restaurant. Target engages in sexual activity. So there you have it, themselves admitting the sexual exploitation aspect of this. Target turns lights off at the end of the day. Target turns light on in the middle of the night. Target travels out of town. Some of these observations will be performed by the Electronic Corps, EC, but CBA's community-based agents should attempt to make and report as many detailed observations of target activity as possible. The reason such detail is necessary is for the purpose of social engineering. Again, I'm a world-changing genius. You didn't even know what social engineering was until you seen this show. Likely. Unless you work for the Electronic Corps. So the reason such detail is necessary is for the social engineering aspect of the programming. The reason such detail is necessary is that the punishment phase of active surveillance requires that supervisors customize each punishment action to match the personality of the target and the need to make each punishment action appear to be, quote, life's normal breaks, end quote. One important punishment function of surveillance is to sensitize the target. Targets are never told they are under surveillance or being punished. Instead, close active surveillance and other activities happening far too frequently to be written off as, quote, life's normal breaks will eventually cause the target to realize they are under surveillance and punishment. As a community-based agent, CBA, you will be given specific instructions on exactly when, where, and how to carry out punishment actions. As long as you carry out punishment instructions exactly as given, so this is where they get the idea from movies like The Punisher. This is why Hollywood needs to be banned. There is no way, as long as you carry out punishment instructions exactly as given, there is no way the target will be believed if they complain, and you will not be exposed to risk of action by law enforcement. Okay, but that's law enforcement. So you can see here how it has the full support of the local law enforcement. And here it is confessing, as long as you carry out punishment instructions exactly as given, as long as you're torturing the victim precisely how we tell you to, when the target complains, there's no way it'll be believed because it's already silenced. It's got its bases covered. This is really evil. And I'm sorry to say, but evil is not cute. Evil is not sexy. Evil, even if it is having sex, isn't love. It's never going to be love. It's never going to have a heart of gold. It has a heart full of hate. And that's how I know it isn't better to be them. If it were better to be them, then why are they not happy? They're not happy, and clearly they're not happy because their actions prove how unhappy they actually are. So, and that's how I know that this manipulative tactic of me trying to get me to feel a certain type of way, it's not going to work. It's ineffective. Inadequate assassins is how I love to put it. You have absolutely nothing I want. I don't want the sold out for anal ideal image. The control center, CC, acquires access to properties or apartments immediately next to the target's home or apartments. I'm happy to be in the truth, and I will daily lift my hands, for I will always sing of when your love came down. I can sing of your love forever. That's not something they'll ever be able to do. Ever. Not even when they're sick. Not even when they're feeling good. Neither way. The control center acquires access to properties or apartments immediately next to the target's home or apartment. So can you imagine how I feel being stalked and sexually exploited by every single car that pulls up next to me? Every single neighbor in the community, every doctor, every police, every friend, every coworker, every boss. Like, this is the feeling, and it is so illegal, to say the very least. Because Electronic Corps has through-the-wall surveillance and punishment equipment, they will be reporting target activity along with community-based agents. In a typical setup, CBAs may be posted in a parked car where the target's home or apartment or car can be observed overnight, for example. In this setup, the CBA in the car may be instructed to call using walkie-talkie style cell phones another CBA or team waiting or patrolling by car nearby to follow the target, or you may be assigned to follow the target yourself. So you can see how it says team. They're not teams. They're schizophrenic rape cult shills. They're gang stalkers. It's an occult. It's not a team. And this is also too why I strongly believe that sports and like that mentality behind it, that winner-loser mentality, that team mentality, it's gotta go. There's no room for it. In a healthy society, there's no room for that. You will receive instructions from your local center as to following the target. Targets in transit may be either covertly or visibly followed. When in doubt, hang back a bit and contact the center for instructions, as targets in transit can present many unanticipated situations. The center will always have the target's position monitored, so if a target gives the CBA the slip, it will assign other appropriate community-based agents to pick up the target at the earliest opportunity. So the target doesn't have any sense of privacy whatsoever. Be sure to notify the control center immediately if you lose the target. When applying the visible following of a target, making the target uncomfortable because of your presence, you will be given instructions as to when to break off the following. Another CBA or CBA team, here they go with the team again. They've got to get rid of sports entirely. Because there's a very evil, homicidal, murderous spirit involving these sports and all of this. And what's really interesting about it to me too is how when I go to turn the TV on and the first thing that pops up is some sports thing or another. And that's how I know it's all related. It's all pushing the same agenda. So in any case, another CBA or CBA team may pick up the visible following, but once you have broken away, they advise that you are clear and ready for the next assignment. So like I was saying, the gang stalkers that are affiliated with these occults, they're doing it by force of will. They don't have a choice. And it's really sick. It's really sadistic. It's just nasty energy all of the way around. And they're stuck to a script, so they can't say much. And when they do speak, they have to say whatever they were given to say by their handler or just whatever. And it's just really ugly. It's just really, it's really, I don't know how else to put this, but for instance, when Hitler was killing all of those people, murdering hundreds of thousands of people, I'm not sure exactly how many, but maybe I think they said 60,000 or something of that sort. And what he was telling everybody at the time was something or another that they needed to do this for their country, for the betterment of their country, you know. And now I think it is that they're telling them that it's the lesser of two evils, you know. And the fact of the matter is that it's evil and they're on the wrong side of history. I'm doing the Lord's work by blowing the whistle here. And if you can't go to church to get this truth, if you can't go to your family members to get this truth, if the only people that are speaking the truth are people that society have written off and are trying to stage a synthetic psychological collapse and a synthetic suicide programming for assassination, then the chances of you getting or obtaining this truth, the truth, it becomes less and less great as time goes on. The wonderful thing about the truth is that you don't have to remember it. It never wavers, and the truth always prevails.